Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Shadowscape. We continue our adventure. The team just left the Tower of Purge, and that was right about here. So currently we're on tile S6. It's about just after 2 p.m., midday. Our party encountered 10 city guards, and they spoke to Captain Savory due to the fact that Sarv was a criminal, a wanted man by the city guard. But after using a Benny, which is a mechanic I brought in from Savage Worlds into Maze Rats, though I'm only giving myself three per the entirety of a quest and for the whole team, not for specific individuals. I spent it to allow Sarv to be set free, basically his freedom paid for by giving the very item that Sarv most likely was seeking, the Dark Jewel. And you can see it was right here. So the guards also wanted the Firestone to return it back to the king, but Wolf demanded that he would fulfill that task on his own in his party's respect. Something I forgot to consider was a path, which is another house rule of mine. He's the leader, so he can show authority when speaking. It's kind of like charisma. I should have done that if I did roll for that when convincing the guard, the captain specifically. So let's continue. We're now going to be traveling back southeast to Shadowscape to return the Firestone. Because we kind of dealt with the existing threats along this path, that will lower the percentage that will encounter these threats. So let's move over here to tile S7. Not mistaken. Yep, S7. And it is 3 p.m. We're going to roll for an encounter if we do encounter anything. I'm going to say it's unlikely we do here. So I'll be doing, the Oracle for today will be 2d6. If it's unlikely, I'm going to include 2 red no's and 1 blue yes. Do we encounter anything here? That is a yes, we do. Okay, as our team, I keep saying team, in OSR sense, as our party continues down this path, they encounter 2 wild killer worms. So they have a problem. They have worms. I'm going to write down 2 killer worms. They're about 6 feet long. They've got teeth, glowing red eyes, and they are out to kill. They are threatening. So let's see. Specs in this game, referencing back to the top here. Armor 6, just looking at the older systems I have. So let's do Armor 6. HP of, let's say, 4, much like the previous flying creatures. And their damage die, which is actually just a roll of the 2d6. Okay. Now, what we'll do is begin the encounter. See who goes first. We have the 2d6 here. I will consider the agility bonus, the dexterity bonus that Rayla has. Meanwhile, Garlax and Sarb are not going to be part of this bout. It will be dexterity of Rayla with Wolf and Rayla included in the encounter. So who goes first +2 on our roll? They go first, even with the +2. It was a blue 1, red 4. All right, so The first worm, let's line them up here. We have worm 1, so this is worm 1, worm 2. Attacks at, let's say, who's going to attack? Who's going to attack Wolf? Okay. Let's roll for attack. Wolf has a defense at armor of 10, and that's a miss. The second worm attacks Rayla, who has a defense of 7. Armor, I keep saying defense, 5. That's a miss. Back to our team. Wolf attacks worm 1. He has attack bonus of 1. That's going to be an 8, plus the weapon bonus of a battle axe, that's 9. So what I'll do is count the 9 first as the damage done. So that's a difference of 3. 1, 2, 3. And the weapon bonus damage of the battle axe or the sword, they're both the same, is another damage dealt, killing the first worm. Rayla now is going to attack. And she will use her short bow from a distance, which does not have a bonus on attack. She has no attack bonus, so this is a straight roll. 9, pretty good. That's 3 damage to the first worm. Now it's back to the worms. They're going to attack Wolf first. I'm sorry, it's the remaining worm. He attacks. That is a 9, that's a miss. Back to Wolf. And Wolf has a 6, which equals the armor, but with his plus, oh, I'm sorry, he has 7, which is based on his attack bonus, so that is a kill nevertheless. Okay, so they defeated those killer worms. And now we move on. So now we are moving on to tile T, just right here on the corner of T7. Let's jump over to the next page. It's going to be 4 p.m. I want to try to remain consistent with this being the header for each tile. So tile number, the star, tile number at the time. Okay, do we encounter anything here? I'm going to say unlikely, again, considering that we've already cleared these areas respectively. Let's see. That is a no, we do not encounter anything. Okay. Now we'll move on to tile T8. But because this was such a short, very short passing through T7, I will only consider a half an hour time passed. So at 4:30 p.m. So no encounter, no encounter on that one. Now let's roll to see if we encounter anything on T8, which is right next to the red lake. So I'm going to say that might actually increase the likelihood of an encounter because we're next to the red lake, which has been known to harbor monsters. Okay, that is a neutral threat. So how to figure this one out? Both were a high yes and no. Now, without using any tables, challenging myself to consider some descriptors here. Let's say that while the team is cautiously, and obviously the party, I should say, is carrying both, they see a wagon. And this wagon is parked next to the sea. And there's a fisherman. I don't think I've done a fisherman before. The Red Lake. I keep saying Red. I was saying Red Sea, but Red Lake basically is where he's at. He's fishing. And it is a goblin who's fishing. The goblin stands up, puts his fishing rod down, and looks to the party with curiosity. Perhaps the goblin is confused. He shouts and says, "It's quite a number of you humans crossing through here." And that's obviously referring to the amount of 10 guards that just walked by perhaps earlier within the hour. The party, I keep saying team, the party stops. Wolf looks to the goblin fishing, which is unusual. He says, "Are you fishing in that lake? Are you trying to catch a deadly beast?" The goblin says, "During the day, if I am retconning a few things here at the lore, I do apologize, but the goblin says, during the day, not much activity happening around the lake, but there is still good fish to eat." So Wolf kind of nods in understanding. Rayla steps up and asks the goblin, "Are you speaking about the guards who crossed from here earlier, walking back to Shadowscape?" The goblin says, "Yes, I saw about 10 of your city guard, of you humans walking past southeast back to Shadowscape, but I would not know why as to what their reasoning was." Wolf says that he's aware, and then he looks to Rayla and says, "Let's continue." The goblin, he steps away from the fishing rod and sits on a rock. Maybe it's tied down. And he says, "Wait, you two. What's wrong with your friends there?" Now, the dilemma here with the storytelling is that I haven't exactly emphasized how both our party members are physically carrying both Sarv and Garlax, mobily. How are they being transported? So here's what I thought. They are just walking with them. I think Garlox, who is up here, is barely able to walk, so it's kind of slowing things down. That would slow down any incidences that involve him. Sarv is unconscious. And I think Sarv is, well, he's not unconscious. I think he's waking up. I'm going to heal him because of time. Heal him back to 3. So let's say him and Garlax are in equal conditions. They are both awake, but hurt. So they're being, not dragged, but they're being helped as they walk by Wolf. We don't have horseback. We don't have any ride. We don't have a ride. We don't have a wagon. No wheels, nothing. It's just walking. So the goblin inquires about what's wrong with our two friends. The wolf turns to the goblin and says, "It's best to mind your own business. We're heading back to Shadowscape. We have not time for conversation." The goblin says, "Whoa, easy, friend. I'm just a fisherman. Perhaps I can be of assistance." Wolf Rayla steps in and says she's not used to seeing helpful goblins in this area, though not often seeing goblins at all. Perhaps a Shadowscape more often, but not in the Deadlands, where we are currently. The goblin says, "I am just a humble traveling merchant. If you seek potions, antidotes, healing remedies, I might have what you're looking for." And Wolf and Rhea look to each other, and they are trying to figure out if he's being genuine. So we will do a roll here, and I'll give Wolf the leadership bonus of rolling the 3d6. So what I'm considering is a hack for maze rats. Typically, the danger move, it's not dangerous. You can just say it's going to happen. The DM could be, the game master can be just say, all right, you know what? Yes. Or, an interesting little twist, we can do a d10 as an opposing roll. This would be hectic. It would be unpredictable. I'll roll my 3d6 against a d10. If I equal or exceed the d10, it'll be a yes. Or I can just consider a number. 8 has been my kind of go-to. 10 would be moderately difficult. 12 would be very hard. Let's see what happens when I do the d10. I'm very curious. Obviously, I will use the white d10, represent kind of it's a neutral force. Red typically means no, blue means yes. So let's just use part of the red d100. I've been Oracle-wise in the past. Let's go. If I beat the d10, it's a yes. That Wolf is able to decipher trying to figure out what this goblin is up to. 4, so we did match it. So think of this like an opposing roll, essentially. So we did match it. He has no bonus on will, but I chose the 2, the advantage, so 5, 6, 7 total over the 4. So Wolf can tell that this goblin, strangely enough, is genuine in his conversation, that he is indeed a traveling merchant, but he is somewhat lost. Rayla says, again, she reiterates that it's not typical to see goblins out here. He says he's been traveling for a few weeks now, and he's been coming here from the north. And that north trail, let's say, goes this way. Goblin has been traveling from the north. North route. And he is a merchant. Sells, let's say, potions, etc. So Wolf, considering the amount of gold pieces that our characters have, and will indeed get more, inquires if he has any that could help his 2 friends in their current conditions. He says, narratively, of course, that it's Maze Rats is very open to interpretation. That they've been, they've been dealing with some evil shadowy spirits from the Tower of Purge. The goblins, like my, that must have been quite the challenge. So the goblin goes back to his wagon and comes out bringing these 2 blue vials that have kind of a very unique, pleasant aura to them. He says both of these are 20 gold. They should be able to heal up your friends quite quickly for 20 gold. He says again. So Wolf pays both for the vials. Let's see, that is going to be 191 and 171 in the subtraction. And in doing so, Garlax awakens, fully healed, back to 8. It's almost as if his spirit was never affected. Sarv awakens, fully healed, with the same effect, as if his spirit was never affected. The goblin smiles, seeing that his product, as he expected, worked. So, I'm going to say Wolf bought 2 potions to heal Sarv and Garlax. And in doing so, the merchant says, I did give you quite a discount for these 2 very powerful potions. And Wolf says, I was not aware there was a discount. The goblin says, it perhaps slipped my mind, but in exchange for the mentioned discount, would you mind showing me the path back to Shadowscape, or showing me the way to Shadowscape? Rayla and Wolf exchange looks with uh, Garlex and Sarv. Garlex is kind of regaining his composure. He's trying to see where he is, considering the options and what happens. Sarv is confused and he's worried because he doesn't have the jewel, doesn't have his dark. He's checking his pockets. He's like, wait. He's talking and muttering to himself. I've never got the jewel. I've never got it. Where is it? He's kind of patting down himself. And Wolf says, we are, as you can see, quite a disgruntled team. Or I should say, we are a bit of, let's say, full at capacity at the moment. What if I just point you in the direction? It says just follow this trail. It will lead you straight to Shadowscape. It goes up that mountain, and Wolf points in the distance, showing the path leading up the mountain. Quite simple. The goblin shakes his head. He says, not good enough. I need protection. And let's say if your friend here, the goblin points to Sarv, appears to be missing something, I perhaps can pay for your assists on leading me to Shadowscape. So this could be considered an escort quest, just taking this man who, did help us back to Shadowscape. Rayla taps Wolf on the shoulder and he says, this might not be a bad thing. I will keep he whispers into Wolf's ear, I will keep my eye on this man, on this goblin. Just lead the way. And then suddenly Sarv starts shouting. He says, where is the jewel? What happened? So Sarv is disgruntled. Where is his jewel? Question mark. And the goblin wants to join us to Shadowscape. There we go. We have these two current issues. Garlax is recovered. Can't forget that. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of doing a milestone system for leveling up. Until we get back to Shadowscape and hand the stone physically back to the king, we won't level up just yet, even after we did that relatively effortless climb up the Dark Tower. I'm sorry, Tower Purge. For now, they remain as they are. So that's where I'm going to end this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. We have a potential dilemma here with Sarv, so some internal conflict and a chemistry building with our party. And we also have this escort quest I'm put right here that this goblin wants us to provide him. He wants us to escort him to Shadowscape. That's where he's been trying to get to. Obviously, he's been fishing here at Red Lake. Which is strange, because perhaps it's a hole in my narrative, my lore, world building, but he says that the Red Lake doesn't have much activity during the day. That could be a mistake on my part. I apologize, but we'll just keep moving. So, thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.